There's no debate that this guy was acting violently and threatening people, and even said he was prepared to
dude, I'm debating this. I'm debating this.
Die. At that point, you have what could be a terroristic threat. I think.
Now, are you telling me that you would not put a man in a chokehold to prevent what might have been New York City's 9/11? And 9/11 was moments from occurring, and it took 3 people to stop this 9/11. And you're saying that Osama bin Neely is the victim? What the fuck? Yeah, words aren't violence, motherfuckers, when they're trying to justify a black guy getting lynched. Actually...
I think if a guy got on a train and screamed, "I'm going to cause harm to people," and then said he was willing to die.
Did he say that? Did he scream? Did he? Was that something this guy said? Joe Neely kicks down the subway doors. "I'm going to cause harm to..." Yeah. He didn't do that. Tim is evil. Yeah, Tim is evil, of course. Lance needs to be like 5 times as aggressive here as he's actually being. The key, so here's, I'm going to say, like, imagine you're in Lance's position and you want to like, you want to like, okay, he's spewing bullshit, and like, how do you stop this? Okay. The best way to stop this nonsense, all right, first of all, don't get angry. Because if you get angry, then you're triggered and you lose, all right? And Lance is good at that, to be fair. Lance actually does hold frame really well on that issue. The problem is Lance is really nice. And what this situation calls for is being incisive, condescending, and mean. You need to interject in ways that put Tim on the defensive. You need to seize control of the discussion by giving him pointers that aren't easy to immediately respond to or dismiss. A good way to do this is with careful invective. Like you want to probe, but not so much that the audience would feel justified in sympathizing for Tim. Ideally, you want to put... So, okay, the best way to do this is, Tim knows he's lying, right? The best way to put pressure on Tim is to put pressure on the lies in ways that force him to answer questions he doesn't want to answer. Like, here's an example. What evidence is there of him threatening? What did he say to threaten people? Can you provide a quote of threats that he provided? That would end this right then. No, like, hey, can you look at the article? Is there, like, any evidence at all he did anything? Anything he said? Anything he did? Oh, he said he didn't mind going to prison? What does that mean? That's it? Death sentence? You can get jumped just for saying that? Go out in the street and just say, "Oh my God, my life sucks. I wouldn't even mind going to jail." Then just 50 guys with trench coats, guns, just shoot you? Huh? You do the... Now, Tim can't just dismiss this. He has to respond in some way. But Tim doesn't want to respond with that because there's no way to without making his argument look a lot weaker. So he gets frustrated. Tim's a good speaker and a good debater, but he's not perfect. And even people like him can get flustered and can lose their cool a little bit. And the more they lose their cool, the easier it is for you to put pressure on them. They're the triggered one now. I thought words weren't violence. Now you're saying you put a person in a chokehold for 15 minutes because of words they've said? Kind of snowflakey behavior, don't you think? A little bit of comedy works too, because he can't, if he gets mad at something stated like that, makes him look bad to the audience, you know? You guys understand what I'm talking about, right? The point is, how do you treat somebody with the contempt they deserve without getting their audience to feel sympathetic towards them?
You'd probably want to stop them because there's signs all over the subway saying, if you see something, say something. And I suppose we could go the route of...
That's true. When you see a person being loud, kill them immediately. That is what those signs mean. Vaush, I'm curious, would you have felt nervous in this situation? I would have, but this is no excuse for what happened. Bro, I grew up in LA. I grew up around crazy homeless people yelling all the time. They never attacked me. Sometimes they do. Sometimes people hurt you. But if you're walking around LA, especially at night, the kinds of people who are going to hurt you aren't likely to be like desperate, miserable homeless people. They're likely to be roaming, drunk young adults or people associated with gangs. The homeless people usually are the most disproportionately fucked people in this environment, you know? I don't fear the Now, can a homeless person attack you? Are they often scary? Yes! Don't be an idiot. Don't pretend. Again, I grew up in LA. There are some big, mean homeless people that'll yell at you. You don't know if they have a knife on them. Have they ever drawn a knife on me? No, but it could happen, sure. But just because they look and act scary doesn't mean they should be subject to some kind of extra, ultra harsh standard for legalized violence. You can use lethal force on a person if they demonstrate that they are going to use lethal force on you And in some other cases, castle doctrine, they're going to rape someone, blah, 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 you know. If I have a gun in California, which is not an easy task to get a concealed carry license, but if I did, and a homeless person shouted at me, yelled at me, and I drew and shot them in the head, I would go to jail, rightfully so. If they pulled a knife on me and I shot them in the head, I would not go to jail because they demonstrated an intent to apply lethal force to me, and I responded in kind. A 15-minute chokehold is lethal force. It is an action which is likely to kill. A bullet doesn't have to kill, you know. Guns aren't referred to as lethal weapons because they're guaranteed to kill. They're referred to as lethal weapons because they're likely to and capable of killing. Pretty easily, too. Same with 15-minute chokeholds. It's lethal force, disproportionately applied. Personally, in my opinion, I find the 15-minute chokehold to be a lot more egregious because a person getting scared and panic firing at a homeless person is disgusting. But it's also potentially a flash of bad decision-making, an instinctual, regrettable reaction. I'm not saying it's good. It's not. A 15-minute chokehold requires a pretty significant commitment. California has strict escalation laws. You could still go to jail if you pull a gun on a person with a knife. Okay, well, California's cucked when it comes to guns. So what do you want from me? Okay, never mind. If you're in Cuckifornia, let the homeless person stab you to death. Anyway, let's move on.
Did he say to the people who subdued him, I'm going to harm you?
Yes,
I'm going to hurt you.
That's immaterial to a self-defense claim.
What? Well, you know, saying I'm going to harm you is assault. Okay, so did he say I'm going to harm you? Well, that's immaterial to the assault claim. What? We're going to get a lot of use out of this. Oh my God. Magical. Fucking magical thinking.
Claim in proportionality.
Okay.
If this guy was threatening people, right? And then someone said, I'm going to stop you before you hurt someone, that is legal self-defense acting in the defense of others. That
Neely did not appear to be armed or looking to attack anyone, Vasquez told CNN. Yeah. So Lance has to press on this. Like, okay, so what did he say? You keep saying abstractly what he did, but like, what did he do? Like, tell me specifically, what were the words? It sounds like you're making it up.
That makes those people who are stopping the guy threatening people the victims of a violent individual who is trying to cause harm.
Oh God, I really wish Lance had said like, okay, so do you think that if so if you're like transgender and anyone like you're at a protest and there's like counter protesters and one of them says like, fuck you, tranny, I'm gonna fuck you up, you can shoot them? I would love to see like Tim immediately like try to parse that immediately, right? Though it would have to be after this because the jibber jabber flows. You know, it would be getting on another subject. The idea that like any vague threat can be responded to with lethal force is psychotic and would immediately end civilization. It would be the end of all things. The funny thing is that what Tim is talking about here isn't even like psychotic in a medieval sense, because if you go back to like 1,000 years ago or whatever, and Tim said this, they'd beat his ass back then, because that'd be insane. Can you imagine, like, the year is 1127, and any time a guy yells at you or sounds threatening, like people are killing each other, there wouldn't be anyone left. There are higher standards of civility. They had rules about drawing swords back in the Middle East. Like the idea, it is a level of paranoid, psychotic, right-wing delusion that exceeds the excesses of our history. It's out of time and place. It's insane. I do genuinely think that Tim Pool is a good debater. He's pretty good at weaponizing fake righteous indignation. You know, I hesitate to call him retarded, apart from the fact that I actually say it a lot, largely because, you know, he fakes everything that he says. Yeah, he's a weasel. He had a lot of openings. Well, Tim will this sounds like kind of arrogant, but like the first time that I went on Tim Pool, I did pretty good. Not perfectly, of course, you know, but I did pretty good. The second time I went on Tim Pool, Tim backed the fuck away from me and let Charlie Kirk do the debating. And then Charlie Kirk was deferential 5 minutes in. If I went on Tim Pool again, he wouldn't act that way with me. Tim Pool proportions his response to the competence and the awareness and the knowledge of the person that he's talking to. And I've seen Lance debate, and I think that sometimes Lance does well and sometimes he does poorly, but I think he overwhelmingly does well when he's talking to people who act in good faith. Tim doesn't at any point, which means that dealing with him is more of a rhetorical exercise in calling out dishonesty and pressing points and not taking bait than it is like a good faith engagement with the points.